morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this Wednesday morning. It's hump day. This is the Market Rebellion, and this is the take. I got to tell you something. Are the last couple of days just absolutely shocking, extraordinary? If you're asking me, I would say yes. I'm asking you, what do you think? I mean, it has been absolutely incredible. But you know what? When you get some of these bounces like this, oftentimes it can be absolutely crazy. And we have seen this. It's not brand new. We've seen this in the past where we were obviously coming out of the pandemic and a lot of that excitement. And we started to really rocket to the upside after getting absolutely hit to the downside. That's kind of the blueprint of what we were seeing in the last week or so. We really were under some ungodly pressure. And then when we find out more about the variant and less severity and all the rest of it, at least so far, that seems to have been an absolute amazing catalyst. And 500-point up day, 500-point up day, not bad at all. So we've had some incredible moves. I think the most the thing that stands out the most for me about yesterday was the move specifically in the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ moving up 3%. And we were just talking about that before I came on. 3% move on a major index. That's absolutely an incredible move, particularly to the upside. And a lot of that was driven by technology and semiconductors, and they were absolutely ripping on fire. When you look at technology up 3.5%. Oh, by the way, you look over at the semiconductors up 5%. That gives you a really good sense of just the strength and the movement that we were seeing yesterday. Absolutely extraordinary. S&P was up a couple of percent. Even the Russell chipped in. That was up about 2.25% yesterday. Crude was near that 72, so we're out of those 60s, which has been a pretty nice move to the upside for energy. Also, the 10-year kind of hanging around in there below 1.5, somewhere between 1.45 and 1.5. And that seems to be an area that at least is giving the financials a little bit of a boost as well. Financials yesterday up nearly 2%. So across the board, I continually look over at the tech and the semis, though. Just a rocking kind of a day yesterday. By the way, speaking of rocking, nearly 42 million contracts trading yesterday. Again, actually, on the pace that we are on right now, that's a little bit slow, believe it or not, because of the averages that we are having right now. When you look at November, you look at the start of December, our averages are actually well above that. So a little bit below average. So we feel a little bit like there's a little bit of something pulled out of the market yesterday. Although I look, there were only two names that actually were over 1 million contracts yesterday. One was Apple, 3 million contracts yesterday. The second one, Tesla, just almost exactly 1 million contracts yesterday. That was it. So a big, broad move across a lot of different areas. Consumer discretionary had a really wonderful day yesterday as well. That was up about 2.25%. So what were some of the major movers, some major leaders yesterday? Some of those Chinese names really did step up yesterday. PDD really stood out. That was up about 12% yesterday. We talk about these chips. We talk about the semiconductors. How about NVIDIA yesterday, up about 8%? Marvell has been on an absolute tear to the upside. And obviously, because I own it, I pay more attention to it. But it has been absolutely been ripping to the upside as well. That was up about 8% yesterday. You look at NXPI, you look at AMD, you look at ASML, you look at Microchip, you look at all of these various names, all up 6% or more yesterday. A really nice move for the semiconductors. The beta energy names as well, very, very strong. Devon up about 6%. You had Fang up about 7%. Not everything was great, though. DocuSign, that was down yesterday, nearly 3.5%, maybe even a little bit more than 3.5%. Peloton, shocker, the expensive clothes hanger, that was down a little bit again. Comcast was down significantly, down about 5% yesterday. I think that what really stood out, though, is a 3.5% move to the upside out of Apple. What an extraordinary day. And Apple, we were just talking about this name as well before I came on. It does this often. And I think a lot of people just don't keep up with it well enough, whatever the case, because we always get those questions when Apple has been stalled for a while. Hey, Pete, what's going on with Apple? Why isn't Apple moving? Why is Apple actually kind of lagging and all the rest of it? It happens all the time. Apple makes significant moves, and then it's almost like taking that pause or taking that breath, catching its breath before it makes that next move to the upside. And that's exactly what Apple has been. If you go back in time, you will see significant moves, a little bit of a flat line, significant moves, a little bit of a flat line. That's a lot of what we have seen out of Apple for an extremely long period of time. By the way, American Express with a huge bounce back. It got hit pretty hard, but American Express yesterday, that was up about 4%, giving the Dow a nice big push to the upside, along with Salesforce and along with Intel on that news that they had yesterday about some spinoffs. So a lot going on, that a major couple of days. We look like we're taking a little bit of a breather, at least in the first hour of trade. You look back and you see not a whole lot of movement in the pre-market. Early, we had a nice big spike out of the Dow. That pulled back immediately. We've been up somewhere between 20 and 30 points ever since first hour of trade. Kind of expect a little bit of a pause at some point in time. NASDAQ actually a little bit of negative. Well, why wouldn't it be after that monstrous move that we had from the NASDAQ just yesterday? So you're not going to go up every single day. Crude still holding right around 72, 10-year just below 1.5. And I look over at Bitcoin. Now that has not done a very good job of rebounding, at least not yet, but under 50,000. That actually was getting absolutely throttled just not too many days ago and has not really recovered back up towards that 60,000 level. It most likely will. We'll see as we get through a little bit more. Volatility still hanging right around that 22. Yesterday, that when you look back and you look at where we were on the volatility index just a few days ago, pushing towards 35, then down towards 31, then towards 27. And here, now we sit yesterday closing right near 22. Today, still closing right, trading right around that 22 level. By the way, I mentioned Apple in the extraordinary move yesterday. How about the follow-up today? Another big, strong day, another all-time high. This is a company that just continues to be amazing, at least over the last few days. Some of the news sources about it. Last I looked, it was trading about 174, an extraordinary move to the upside, very, very strong. So where are some of the strengths and weaknesses today? Cruise ships. But when you look across cruise ships, you look at Norwegian, you look at Carnival, up about 5%. People feel a little bit more comfortable about things. They're moving to the upside. Casinos in that same sort of category. It's winning Las Vegas Sands that have really been lagging behind MGM, but having a nice day today, up about 3%. You got DocuSign actually on a really nice bounce back. We just talked about it yesterday, down about 3.5% or so today. It's up about 5%. American Express adding to yesterday's gains. But we are seeing a little bit of pullback in some specific semiconductors. NXPI down about 5% today. You look at Microchip, it's down a couple of percent today. When you look over at the Dow, what's really kind of pulling a little bit on the Dow? Honeywell, definitely. And then I look over at Moderna, down about 2%. Those are some of the movers. Not a lot of movement today, so it's not surprising that we are seeing a little less on the movement side in terms of significant moves that we want to take an eye out and keep an eye on. Now, two unusuals, and then we're out of here. It's good to be back with you guys. Sorry I was out Monday, Tuesday. I had a lot going on out in Southern California. Great time. Thank you to the people out there for embracing me and my wife and having a great time out there. Some meetings and a lot more things going on out there. Talk about that another time. So, unusual. Number one, Facebook. Facebook, really interesting because that's been all over the map, as we know. It's made some spikes back. It's actually had some significant pullbacks as well. It's trading under 330. It was trading 327.60 this morning. Had a buyer of 14,000 of Friday's expiring. Now, it's Wednesday the 8th. These expire on the 10th. The 330 calls. So, very doable, just a couple of bucks away. Stock 327.60. These are the 330 calls. They started at about $1.40. They finished at about 270 on the buy of these calls to the upside in Facebook, expecting a nice surge over the next couple of days. We'll see. Next, this one stood out for me. I don't really like talking about ETFs. I'm a guy who really likes to focus on the beta, in other words, the individual names. But this one stood out because of what it represents. So the FXI, we're talking about the large cap Chinese names. This is interesting. In an ETF, trading right around 38.75, and we have a pretty daggone big buyer in here. We've seen a little bit of this. We've seen Asher, we've seen other ETFs out there with the China, and we're seeing a lot of very bullish activity. FXI today, 38.75, a buyer of 10,000 of the February 42 calls. Those are going for 47 cents. Very interesting to see that nice big call buyer going out, buying a little bit of time. And they're not expecting this to absolutely rocket because they're actually hedging themselves by selling the 44 strike calls out in February. That's just the interesting spread that they're putting on out there and giving themselves a great opportunity for upside, but also capping even more upside to as the stock actually, let's see if it can play out through that whole move. But right now, trading just below 39. Should be an interesting one to watch. Folks, I'll tell you what, been an interesting couple of days. We'll see if today starts to get a little bit more active, starting off very, very, very calm. As a matter of fact, when I was looking earlier, the sectors, there wasn't one name of all the sectors up more than 0.25% or down more than 0.25%. So very, very tight markets, at least early on, with this volatility trading right around 22. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.